Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Franchise Tagged Podcast. Kicking off your week 10 of NFL action here on this Thursday morning. Starting off, going over our pick'ems from last week. Off to a rough start for me. In the first slate of games, I was just real scared that this week was going to look like week 7 and I was going to go 5-8 again and just really not have a good time. But
Yeah, it
turned it
was a rough
around.
start.
I went on a streak from Bears Saints onward and hit every single one of those, so I went 9-5. Brings my overall record to 79-57.
You're getting up there. On the flip side for me, equal. I missed the first 3 games of the week. Hit a little stretch with the Ravens and the Browns winning, and then Rams was a miss. Texans won, and then from the Bears Saints game onward, hit them all. I went 9-5 on the week, which brings my grand total up to a respectable 87-49. Almost to your original prediction
It's
mark there.
it's still nuts to me. It's 90-46 for those of you that care at all. My
Hmm.
preseason prediction record is better than any than I could have ever hoped. I looked back at it and I was like, "Oh, these are all stupid. None of this is going to happen." And it's kind of happening. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy with how things are going. I have a relatively positive record, and locks, I'm 7-2, so
Yep,
I'm
six
doing
and three
pretty
for
well
my
there.
locks.
And your lock did hit last week. It was
Yes.
the conditional because Matt Stafford didn't start. It moved to the Chargers over the Jets, and there was a little bit of confusion, at least on my end, because I wasn't sure if you were picking Jets because you said that when we had the same lock, you were just going to flip it.
Yeah, I was just going to flip it to be your adversary,
Yeah,
not
no, because you,
actually.
yeah, but we have it. We're good now. He hit his lock, and so we're doing pretty well on those pick'ems this year, I think. Especially for this being like the first time we're actually doing this. So like, we've done it a little bit here and there with the
Yeah.
ESPN fantasy thing, but first order of business, I believe, was we record this on Tuesday evenings, and I think it was on Tuesday night. It was like just before
Midnight.
midnight,
Yeah.
and I would go on Twitter and I refresh the page and it says Josh McDaniel fired by the Raiders, and their GM also got fired, and this was like, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours after we stopped recording. I got this, and he had already gone to sleep, and so I just texted him, wait until the morning. And yeah, the Raiders have completely switched everything up. They've got a head coach who's getting the players fired up. I don't know if you've seen any of the locker room clips, but
Yeah.
Devonte Adams just eyes trained straight on him, and yeah, they're they're looking good now. Took a took the game against the Giants, which it's the Giants. Take it with a grain of salt, but
Yeah.
looking good. Head coach getting his
Giants with
players.
some bad talent and another quarterback injury. Um,
Danny.
we'll get into that later. But yeah, the Raiders looking good, looking up. I expect this to be the exact same thing Mark Davis did previously, where Rich Bisaccia did really good, and then they just were like, "Oh yeah, we don't actually want you as our coach," and then they move on, and I hated that decision when that happened.
Not
And
many
in
interims.
retrospective, it's even worse.
Not many interims get the real head coaching job. I feel like though.
Yeah, and it sucked even more because it was an interim that actually did good, as
Yeah,
opposed to interim that just
Jeff Saturday.
steadied the ship. Yeah.
Shout out Jeff, but
That was outlandish. That
he
was
didn't.
outlandish.
Shout out Jeff Saturday. He just was the
Yeah.
most recent example of an interim head coach that didn't
Hmm.
actually end up working out. So that's
Yeah.
that is all I meant by that. Shout out Jeff Saturday, wonderful center. The
Quit calling the plays, Jeff.
Then on Thursday night, following the Steelers and Titans game, George Pickens had a whopping 2 catches for -1 yards. You heard that right. I had more receiving yards this weekend than George Pickens did. So did you at
Uh,
home. Uh,
yeah. But
so
did you see like I don't remember what app it was. I think it was Prize Picks. The free spot of one
yeah,
yard
George
for
Pickens
George
getting
Pickens and it
half a
missed.
yard. Yeah, they said they were
Mm,
refunding all the bets on that.
that was hilarious.
Yeah, but he posted something on his Instagram story that just said "free me," so he wants out of Matt Canada's system, and I can't say I blame him, but also you're a week late. The trade deadline
Hmm.
just passed. They could have gotten probably a second round pick for him. And
Yeah, maybe back there, invest maybe a third, just with how that usually goes around the trade
true,
deadline.
true, true. Yeah. But they could have gotten something for him. He could have gotten out of there. It could have been a win win situation for them. And instead, now he's just unhappy in Pittsburgh instead of being happy elsewhere.
In Pickensburg, yeah.
Pickensburg.
Shout out
Those,
Pickensburg.
God, those freaking Twitter accounts are hilarious. There's Pickett to Pickens season, Pickensburg, Picketburg. It's a fun time over there in the AFC North on Twitter.
If that's what you want to call it.
It is a fun time. The you have written down here the reffing of that game. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, um, I mean it was good. I was like, wow, they're picking up some flags. They're calling things that are definitely there when they show the replay. It's not just like my a pet peeve is whenever the announcers are like Tony Romo does it especially, where he'll be like, and then he just defers to like the ref
Rules
that's
guy.
on, yeah, rules guy. He's like, how do you feel about that? Oh, I'm not seeing it, and then they usually are like, yeah, we don't see that either. Um, so there was none of that, and they were picking up some flags, and we were like, wow, this is some really good refing. That didn't stop the fact that those teams just couldn't stop committing penalties,
Oh my
though.
god, though, it was nuts. It was awful. That
I'm
game
gonna I'm gonna
dragged.
see. Can I find the penalties here? Um, yes. So there was 17 penalties committed total in that game for a total of 131 yards.
Jesus.
That's wow. That was such a slow game for a Thursday night game.
I don't really have so
Every other play was a stoppage, and then it was like, oh, finally, not a flag. Oh, someone's hurt. There
yeah.
goes Cole Holcomb.
Ugh, yeah. That was a rough one to watch. I have no point of reference for how many penalties that is compared to like what happens in an actual game. But I feel like whenever I see the stats, it's like this team has 4 penalties, this has 3. And that's like halfway through the third quarter, I'll see that stat. And so it's like maybe 10 a game is a pretty normal amount, and 17 is a very considerable amount of penalties.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you based off of www.teamrankings.com, uh, the NFL team penalties per game, Cincinnati is sitting at 4.5. And if I go ahead and sort this by most, Green Bay has 7.5. The fewest is Cincinnati with 4.5. So that's
Okay,
the
so
range we're
7
looking
plus
at
4,
here.
so like around 10 to 11 a game, which is, yeah, that makes sense. So 17 is quite a large amount. And I feel like the ref took a few seconds every time to like collect himself and figure out
They
what he's
kept
going to.
discussing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a quick discussion. It was like, here, let's talk for a minute about what this penalty is going to be and then call this 5 yard penalty on a 2nd and 12. And it's like, all right, don't talk that long on a down that doesn't actually matter.
While we're on the topic of refing, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna jump us ahead of a good solid weekend. In the Chargers Jets game, it did just find me. Did rub me a little weird that there is a ref that the penalties call. Or there was a penalty that the refs called.
The penalty's called a
Where
ref?
yeah. Oh man, there was a penalty that the refs called on a touchdown play because the guy got contact made with him prior to the snap of the ball, but it like moved a touchdown and the
Mm-hmm.
penalty was on the defense. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like that should be something you can like decline because you want your touchdown, but it is what it is.
I also want
And
to
they
talk
still got
about
the touchdown right after. So
I also want to talk about the no fun league and the taunting penalty on Josh Allen because he pointed at a guy.
yeah,
Come
he
on,
pointed and he laughed. All right,
come on,
jeez.
come on! Don't call taunting on a. Sorry, bud. Touchdown off the board. It wasn't a touchdown off the board, but he's for sure going to
Yeah.
get fined for that. And I tweeted out during one of the games that somebody was going to get fined for a hit. What did I say? Hold on, I forgot what it was, but I just oh, Van Ginkel. He was. I think he hit. What team is he on?
Bruh.
I think he's on the Dolphins, and he hit
Yeah,
Mahomes out of
that's last I
bounds.
know.
I think he hit Mahomes out of bounds, and I was shocked they didn't call a flag on that, and so I was like, all right, he's getting fined. for
They're
sure.
gonna make it back somehow.
Let me see. Andrew Van
Yeah,
Ginkel.
he's on the Dolphins. Andrew
No
Van
news about
Ginkel.
him
What a
getting
name.
fined. Come on, NFL, get your shit together.
Yeah, come on, fix your
You're gonna
game.
you're gonna make Tyreek Hill pay $200,000 because he's not wearing socks, but you're not gonna fine Andrew Van Ginkel for slapping Mahomes
Well,
around out of bounds.
they also hate Tyreek Hill because he throws up peace signs.
That's fair.
It's
It's
almost worse
close to
than pointing.
pointing. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
close.
it's
You
like peace be with you, but it's actually like haha. He's mocking them. It's not good. It's not nice.
later.
He hurt their feelings. Penalty, fine, $300,000, please.
Let's talk about CJ Stroud and how he's winning the offensive rookie of the year race, and it's not particularly close. And
Yeah, I felt
also,
pretty dumb for saying it was going to be Bryce Young in my preseason prediction, but
at
I'm
that
just a
time,
stupid
that
boy.
wasn't an
What can I
outrageous.
know?
At that time, it wasn't that outrageous. And the other thing I want to talk about is how I was pretty spot on talking about Puka Nakua and how his usage would fall off a little bit because he wasn't the only weapon. And obviously, Cooper Kupp hasn't been great either. But the fact that they're now splitting targets means that Puka isn't putting up these historic crazy numbers that's getting the league, that's putting the league on notice. So he's kind of out of the rookie of the year race. Bijan's not in it anymore because
Hey,
Arthur Smith hates
Brett,
using his talent. You want to
Brett
talk about
Ripon
Brett
threw for
Rippon?
130 yards. All right, he you can't
Congrats,
hate
Brett.
on Puka after this week.
Oh, I'm not hating on him after this week. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that in the
he did
past
have
like
a fall
four
off, but like,
weeks, he's just kind of been a
mhm.
little bit slower. And nothing. He's not been bad. He just hasn't been that take the top off, 15 catch, 200-yard
He's not
player.
being the like, oh, he's breaking records for catches and yards to start a career or anything like that.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, past
what
2 weeks
was
he
it?
has 6 catches for 75 yards. Week before that though, he had 8 catches for 150. So
I don't think there's anybody touching that competition because I mean, Will Levis got a late start. Keontae Ingram, I think,
yeah,
is the Ravens guy who popped off last week. He got a late start, and Bijan Arthur Smith is the dumbest coach in the NFL. And
oh dude,
this is coming from somebody who doesn't own any Falcons players on
oh,
fantasy. I
hold
don't own any of
on.
them for a reason because I know Arthur Smith is stupid. But he just refuses to use his top talent and wants to run the ball to Jonnu Smith at the 5 yard line instead of Bijan Robinson, and then settle for a field goal when Jonnu Smith can't carry the ball into the end zone from the 5 yard line. Shocker. So I just wanted to get that out on Arthur Smith. I feel like we'll talk a
Yeah,
little bit more
you
about
wanted
him a
to get
little
that off
later.
your chest. Here,
Yeah.
I'm posting something in the media channel right this second.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to do this now?
Yeah,
Or
let's do it now because I have no idea who any of these motherfuckers are.
all right, you'll figure some way up to
All right.
go
So
there.
on the screen right now is going to be a picture of the NFL head coaches. The Kelseys did this because Jason Kelsey knows most of them, and Travis Kelsey really doesn't. And so,
It's the inverse with us.
yeah,
I might know more than you.
yeah,
So
100%. I know a lot of random players from the 2010s, but start putting me in front of current players and current coaches. I'm like, is that Tom Brady? I don't know. Right off the bat, top. So I'm going from the back row in the
yeah,
left
start.
over. I have no idea who that is. I'm going to be 100% honest. I recognize a couple of the guys around him. Also, that's a really bad picture. I need to pull up that picture on my own. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm trying to
It's really rough quality.
find a better
Hold up.
image in your tab. I'm trying to find.
NFL coaches picture.
Yeah, because that one was like a behind the scenes, like from the side.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I found one from Barstool. Open image.
Okay,
Okay.
that's how I just did it.
So,
Dude, some of these homies got drip. I can't lie, but we'll go ahead.
They all look
Start
the
us
same.
off.
God damn it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip a couple and then I might come back to them after I eliminate some names. So from the back row on the left, one over Brian Dable, obviously. That one's pretty easy.
Yep.
Next to him, I'm not 1,000% sure. He looks like about 4 or 6 other guys here. Next to him,
Towards his left or right?
to his right. Sorry, we're going left to right.
Okay, so you skipped left onto
Yes,
Brian
because I
Dable,
don't know.
skipped
I don't
right.
know left,
Okay.
and then skipped right. I'm gonna skip right again, and I'm gonna skip right again. Where's Doug Peterson?
God.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know those two. I don't know those three actually.
Okay.
Next up is Mike Tomlin. I know because the
goodness.
Aviators. Those are very
Mhm.
classic aviators. Next to him, I'm
It's
not a
hard to tell with
thousand
this
percent
picture, but I'm
sure.
pretty
Yeah.
sure I know who it is. So
Is that the Bucks head coach? Is that Todd Bowles?
that's yeah.
Okay. Then next is Dan Campbell. Then maybe the Saints head coach, Dennis Allen. I
Uh,
really don't know. That's my best guess for him. Next, Robert
okay.
Saleh. And then there's Doug Peterson, 2 or 3, 4 to the right. I completely zoomed in. Anywho, um,
Next to
that is
Salah.
Matt Aberflus next to
Ah,
Saleh.
darn.
Then generic guy I don't know. Again, generic guy I don't know. Doug
Uh,
Peterson. Another guy I have no idea. Um, and then let's loop this around. So now we're down to the guy on the bottom right.
yeah.
I have no clue. I honestly don't know. And then we've got Jonathan
Bottom
Gannon,
right.
bottom
Okay.
right, bottom right. I don't know. Then Jonathan Gannon, Mike McDaniel, uh, Kevin Stefanski.
Here. Yes. There you
Okay,
go.
and then Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh, Bill Belichick,
Nice.
Andy
Hmm.
Reid.
The classics.
Washington is
Mhm.
on his shirt, so that's Ron Rivera, right? Uh,
Yes.
and then
You
we've
really
got
got the layup from that.
then that's
Um,
that's Broncos homie, Sean Payton, Sean McVay,
dripped out.
absolutely dripped out. I Is that Shanahan next to McVay?
No.
Okay, then I don't know him. I don't know the guy next to him, and then that's McDermott, the Bills head coach.
All right.
One of them
You
has to be.
know,
I think top left is Staley. I think top left is Staley.
top left is Staley. All
Okay,
right. So I was. Is it
where the
time for me to do my pass of
no? Because
this?
I need to find Vrabel as well. Vrabel's in the light blue shirt, two to the right of Dable, or no?
Hold on. Let me find
Because I thought
Is
Vrabel
Rabes
would be
in this
so
picture?
easy to. He has to be. He's head coach of the
1,
Titans.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
How tall is Dable? Because he's the same, or
There's only 29 coaches in this picture.
maybe
So
Vrabes isn't in it then.
did Rabes miss this?
Let me go to the page. Um,
All right. So here are the coaches missing: Frank Wright, Mike Vagerwall, and Nick
Vrabel,
Sirianni.
Nick
Those
Sirianni.
are the
I didn't see
three.
Sirianni either. Okay, so let's see. I've got no Shanahan is. I know what Shanahan looks like. God damn it, Shanahan's the guy next to Dable, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
You've deduced it.
cool.
So you got Staley, Dable,
Staley,
and
Dable, Shanahan.
all right. Next up. Uh,
I could throw a dart at a wall of teams, and I probably would get a more accurate answer than I could guess for him.
it's gonna start with. So I
Yeah,
missed two. So during
congrats.
the edit, you can go ahead and tally up yourself. You probably
Yeah,
got two right.
I probably
Lowballing you.
missed like
There's a lot of
7 or 8,
ones.
bro. Chill out.
No, yeah, you got the whole Hall of Fame chunk in the middle. Yeah, I know.
I got the Hall of Fame chunk in the middle, and I got a good amount of the ones on the top for them all looking exactly the same. Okay.
Oh man. All right.
Next up, we got Josh Dobbs coming in for an injured Jaron Hall for the Vikings. Jaron Hall was doing very well before he got hurt. They were kind of keeping the ball out of his hands a little. They weren't telling him to do everything, but he was accurate. He was efficient. He looked good. And then he got hurt on a big hit. And Josh Dobbs comes in and didn't know his teammates' names, didn't have any relationship
Didn't
with the
have a
offensive
cadence.
line. He had to warm up with the center on the sideline, give him his cadence on the sideline right before he went in, and he hung 28 points on the Falcons all by himself. And he did not have the most passing yards I've ever seen, but homie was running it a lot too. He was as soon as like if there was a play where he didn't know the structure of it and it just kind of started devolving, he got out of the pocket, scrambled, gained yards. It was a very efficient performance, and I like Josh Dobbs. I was really happy with that trade, and everybody else, every other reaction to it that I saw was just like, it doesn't matter. He's not that good. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, it's
like
whatever. Yeah.
he'll be a serviceable, okay quarterback to back up Jaron Hall. And I'm like, no, he's gonna come in and he's gonna play and he's gonna start. Like he was not the problem in on the Cardinals in Arizona.
Arizona. Yep.
He wasn't the problem at all. And I think that he's going to do well, especially if Justin Jefferson can come back soon and Jordan Addison can take back that wide receiver 2 role. I think that's going to be a good team. I don't think it's going to be as good as with Kirk, but I don't think they're going to take a huge step down.
I feel like saying that is a little disrespect to Kirk, but I think that I think their win chances don't reduce as long as their defense gets it together with Josh Dobbs, because Kirk kind of had to make do with the fact that his defense was just going to let a score happen every single drive. So I think if they turn that around,
I'm not saying it as any disrespect to Kirk. I'm just saying Josh Dobbs came in and his defense wasn't good. They let up 28 points, which
yeah,
is a very large amount, and he accounted for all of the touchdowns in that game for the Vikings, and was able to. I mean, it's the Falcons, so I'm not gonna say that that's like
yeah,
an elite defense that he was dicing up, but I'm not saying it as disrespect to Kirk that their win chances don't go down much. I'm saying it as praise to Dobbs that he's a lot better than anybody thought he would be at the start of the season, and I think he's still being underrated, at least in my opinion.
the flip side of that, we have Taylor Heineke who just started a game in 2023, and I've kind of been rooting for Taylor Heineke to have an actual shot at starting since 2020. And it just felt like he was always the anytime he was starting, he didn't play great, but if he ever came in and he was the backup guy, he played phenomenal. It was kind of he just didn't have a great one. But that tends to happen when you're being coached the way you are.
Yeah. We've got a little segment on coaches as well coming up that we're going to talk about some guys on the hot seat. We can get into it now if you want before anything, because we just keep bagging on Arthur Smith. So if you want to get into the hot seat coaches, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, we'll do that before we get into these like transactions into upcoming week 10.
Yeah. So I think the two big names is Bill Belichick and Arthur Smith. Because Bill is not leading a good team right now. He doesn't have
Yeah.
a good offense. His defense is okay, but he's benching players because they're not giving 100% in practice. And then the backups are not playing well. And so the Patriots are losing. And whether or not I think those players should be giving 100% in practice, put out your best player so you can win a damn game. You should be able to beat the fucking Commanders. It's pathetic.
If it's a really well done tank job, then credit to him for having excuses.
God,
But
I
man,
don't
it's
even
rough.
I don't even care. A quarterback's not going to solve anything that we've got going on offense because we don't have anything going on offense.
Yeah.
There is nothing good on the offense. Like the best thing on the offense, I guess, is like the O-line isn't atrocious, but even the O-line can't stay healthy and can't protect Mac for enough time for him to find an open receiver. And the receivers aren't talented enough to get open, and Mac isn't talented enough to throw them open, and the running game is essentially non-existent. And there's just nothing
That
to
tends
be
to happen when
excited
you go
about.
out and get Zeke.
But so I think Bill's on the hot seat as a Patriots fan. I would like him out of there, and literally anybody else. Get Gerard Mayo a bigger position in coaching. That's been talked about before. And just get anybody offensive. Get Ben Johnson as a head coach, for the love of
No,
God.
don't do that. I want him.
I want him to cook. I want him to cook up a storm for the Patriots.
But you know what he wouldn't do?
Hmm.
Change their personnel. he can't fix the personnel.
Yeah,
So
see,
there's
Bill is the GM. So if he's gone
yeah.
as a coach, he's gone as a GM, and somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing can actually step in and try to do something. Because drafting Tyquan Thornton ahead of George Pickens is awful. And drafting N'Keal Harry in the first round is awful.
That
And
was DK's draft,
that was
right?
DK, or that was AJ Brown, maybe?
I think those two were same year. AJ Brown, N'Keal Harry, DK, yeah. JJ Arcega
I
Whiteside.
just saw JJ and Mecole Hardman. Dude, the Chiefs could have had DK instead of Mecole. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But anywho, Deontay Johnson was there as well. He's not bad. Scary Terry, dude, that draft was loaded. Holy shit.
For real, wide receiver wise. Okay, let's not get too far off the beaten path.
Anywho, so
dueling coaches.
Bill sucks. Arthur Smith, I want on the hot seat because his hatred for fantasy football has gotten to the point where he's not utilizing his best weapons. And maybe it's just the fact that Desmond Ridder sucks and can't get the ball to them. But I don't think it's that bad that Bijan has one carry inside the 5 all year. Like, that's pathetic. I get, sure, Tyler Algier's your power back. You're not running power runs every time you get inside the 5. That's going to get stopped every single time. Stop handing it to Jonnu Smith, and stop letting Jonnu Smith be your leading receiver when he's not even your tight end 1.
So I see you picking out these names. You know, you started with Billy B. Obviously, that's close to home for you. Mm-hmm. Then you went to Arthur Smith just so we could continue that absolute just shit show, shitting on him. Then we have Ron Rivera, who just beat Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
But I feel like Ron Rivera, good. He beat cancer, so praise. That was the last victory he had as pending head coach.
Shouts out to Ron for beating cancer, but man, you got to
shout out to Ron. Good job doing that. But the Commanders have not been a great team for you. Just want to roll some of these off because it's not as a passionate thing, but Matt Eberflus is definitely in that conversation. It feels a little early for him based on. I feel like he's going to be given a little bit of a leeway with your quarterback stunk and your quarterback got hurt and all of this kind of stuff. It seems like he might be if they move on from Justin Fields. He might get away with the fact that he can skirt and blame it on Fields and keep his job for another year to try to figure something out.
Yeah.
But
I also think that a lot of it has to do with the offensive coordinator because is Eberflus defensive head coach or is he an offensive minded?
He's a defensive head minded, yeah.
Yeah. So the OC is the one that's responsible for the terrible play calling that happened with Justin Fields and like why he was sucking for so long.
And then they changed it, and they have a different OC, Luke Getsky, for this year.
Luke Getsky sucks as well. He's another problem.
He's not great.
So they need to get somebody else who has an offensive mind, and I think they need an offensive-minded coach. But I have a lot of Bears Twitter on my feed, and from what I've seen from a lot of the fans that actually have a brain, they don't want a head coach who's never been a head coach before. So they don't want Ben Johnson. They don't want like an OC that's successful right now. They want a guy who's been a coach and will become the head coach, but will be a more offensive-minded guy, and then also to bring in a stronger offensive coordinator.
I was incorrect. Getsy has been their coordinator for the past 2 seasons. So he was with the Bears in 2022. So I think that might be how he skirts away from it.
That's what I was getting at is Eberflus can pin blame on a bunch of people that are not him. Because the offense is what's struggling right now, and that's kind of not his fault, really. And then Todd Bowles, I think he's getting himself off the hot seat with Baker playing well and the Bucs not being 0-8 or 0-9. So I don't know if I agree that he's on a hot seat anymore. I think last season he kind of was because he had Brady and wasn't succeeding a ton. But I don't know. I haven't really...
I'm simply not a huge fan of. So, he's been coaching for a minute, but currently he's 3-5 on this year. He was 8-9 last season with Brady, and I feel like let's see, who's their offensive coordinator? Because that defensive-minded head coaches always have that disadvantage where if they have a good offensive coordinator, that offensive coordinator is leaving, and then if they have a bad one, then they
have a bad offense.
they have a bad offense and they're kind of stuck with that.
Yeah.
So Dave Canales was their coordinator for this year, and in 2022, Bucks OC. I guess nothing wants to tell me. Byron Retchler? What? Hmm. Byron Leftwich
Mm.
was the 2022 OC. So I feel like that kind of like being a defensive head coach, you're kind of set up to fail because you're either going to have a revolving door at offensive coordinator. So whatever you have going is either good and they leave, or it's bad and you fire them and you have another one. And until you get like a good offensive one, then you might get your extension. Then you might have, the year where you get to get paid and stay as a head coach of that team. But otherwise, you're kind of just stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
And I feel the same about Todd Bowles, where, yeah, last season he had a really bad season. And
Oh,
this season it's like up and down. Like they started off high and have fallen off a cliff. And
it's the
so
Baker
while
effect.
you, yeah, the Baker effect.
Start off the season
Um,
hot, get people talking about you again, and then start sucking.
and I real quick want to see if you want to, if you want to say anything about it. I'm going to pull up their rankings are in terms of offense and defense. So offensively, they are averaging 21st in yards per game. But to make this look a lot worse, they have 16 touchdowns throughout the 9 games we've played,
Yeah. So it's
which
less than 2 a
is
game.
that is 3 less than the Broncos and the same amount as the Cardinals.
Yeah. So that offense is
Although, I
not
mean,
good.
they're better
And
than the Giants and Jets though, and the
shit,
Raiders, but
Brian
it's
Dable up
not high up
next.
there.
Brian Dable, I think, yeah, he's on the hot seat, but I also think that the GM extending Daniel Jones for
Mm,
$160 million
yeah.
and putting your future in his hands and then not giving him that many weapons, like Isaiah Hodgins is their wide receiver one. Yeah, you can have Saquon all you want. If he's going to be playing half the season because he's hurt and your receivers aren't good and your quarterback's not like a game altering player who's going to make your receivers good no matter what, then yeah, you're going to suck. And Brian Dable, I believe, was OC of the Bills. So he's an offensive minded guy, right?
Yeah, he was the one
And
that fixed Josh Allen, basically.
yeah, and I don't think you can fix a quarterback without putting decent pieces around him. And as the coach, you're not the one acquiring these pieces. It's typically the GM. And I
Yeah.
just think that
See,
the Giants have a couple
I
bigger issues than Dable.
yeah, I have him on the list not because he's the issue, but because the GM made the decision he did. So
Yeah.
despite however Abel feels about it, he has to do what he can with
Mm-hmm.
what he has.
Yeah.
And so when you have Daniel Jones who has a like 4-year deal that was
160
like 40
million,
mil,
40
yeah.
million a year.
Um, so 160 mil over 4 years, Dayball knows that that's a bigger financial commitment than his head coaching salary.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to kind of look at it and be like, oh, well, Dayball's safe because like this, that. But if the offense can't go under Daniel Jones, then Dayball's going to be the one that's out of there because they
Yeah.
have that commitment.
Looking forward to this week. We've got Kyler Murray starting, barring any setbacks in practice. And my expectations for him, I don't know if you have any expectations, but my expectations are very low. I won't spoil anything that I have on the pick'ems, but I don't think Kyler is going to be like running for 200 yards and throwing for 300. I think he'll be good. I think that if they didn't think he would be able to lead them to a better record, they wouldn't be trotting him out there,
Mm-hmm.
because they'd just be tanking with Clayton Tune and then picking somebody else in the draft. But I don't know. I don't have many expectations this week. I think next week is going to be somewhat similar, and then the week after that is where I expect him to kind of take his old form and be a bit more of a dual threat and lead them to some good performances down the stretch. And I don't think they can get in the playoffs, but I think that they'll probably have a pick in around 10, maybe 10 to 15 is where their first round pick will fall.
Yeah, I'm even less than that because I feel like they're gonna try him out and he's not gonna be himself for a couple of weeks, as you said. But when he does start being himself, I don't think that they're gonna come away with wins just because they have a talent void still. And when they start they're currently 1-8. Like if they start picking up wins, maybe they win 5 games.
Yeah,
That's like high end for it. So their win totals aren't going to be great, and they're definitely trying. The GM wants them to lose. Like the GM is like, okay, we need to make something
for sure.
out of this roster. So they're looking for that. Kyler himself obviously isn't trying to tank, but
No,
when he comes
he's
back, it's going to be kind of chemistry wise. It's going to be getting back into the rhythm of everything, and they're going to drop a couple of games, and then he might pick it back up and
yeah.
come back full force.
And I think that he's going to feel pressure because if he starts to lose games, they're just going to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May
Mm-hmm.
and replace him.
Yeah, he
And
needs to win them games so they're out of that range, but good enough to get other players that he could use.
yeah,
But
another
also they did, kind of stand with solidarity with him last year. So it could be that they stick with him, because they're committed to Kyler Murray as their quarterback, and they instead go for Marvin Harrison as opposed to a quarterback if they were even early in the top 3 picks.
I think that rather than that, last year just would have been too expensive for them to get out of his contract if they wanted to take a quarterback, and it wasn't like some generational prospect. So I think that
And it
was
was
their issue
probably
with it.
also a new coach
Yeah,
that doesn't want to blow everything up on his
yeah.
first year. So a lot of factors.
Speaking of rookies last year, though, or rookies this year, quarterbacks drafted in the last draft, Mayo Man, Will Levis is now the full-time starter in Tennessee. Mike Vrabel announced that he would be starting over Ryan Tannehill when Tannehill is healthy. So we've got last week we were talking about it as if Levis was just automatically the starter because he performed well. I think I saw a clip like that night again of Mike Vrabel in an interview, and somebody was like, "So how's Will Levis going to do this Sunday?" And he's like, "Will Levis, like, I don't know if he's starting." And it was like, why would he not be starting, Mike? He is your offense. He just put up a crazy performance. Start him. And then he did fine again, and they're
Yeah,
like, okay, fine.
it was a solid performance, but it seemed like they were having issues outside of just him. It
Yeah,
also felt like they dialed it back a bit with how the play calling was, where last week it was kind of every touchdown he threw was on the deep ass ball,
mm-hmm.
where he just trusted his guy 1-to-1, and it felt like there was a lot more like, okay, let's try to dial that back, but see what we have besides,
Yeah, get
haha,
him
big arm Gober kind of
kind of
thing.
get him in more of an offensive role rather than a
Yeah,
big arm, show us
yeah.
what you have role.
Hmm.
For the Rams, another QB thing, they did sign Carson Wentz, or they are about to sign Carson Wentz, and they are cutting Brett Rippon in exchange for
Yes.
that because of his performance on Sunday.
Yeah. Uh, Stafford. I really hope Stafford ends up being healthy for at least one more full year of his career because it was electric watching it for that Super Bowl run. But it's been an injury prone years for him.
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, they are cutting Miles Gaskin. That I don't exactly know why, but they kind of threw in all of their running backs into the fray, getting a bunch of them, Darrell Henderson
Shut
back and
up.
all of that. So I think they're kind of
Yeah, they're
those.
getting, or I guess if
Yeah,
Kyron Williams is going to get, if is going to be designated to return,
yeah,
they need
back off
the
of
spot
IR.
open. So that'll probably be happening soon. On to some injury stuff. Danny Dimes did tear his ACL, so he's done for the year, and that means the Giants are going to be trotting out Tommy DeVito because Tyrod Taylor is hurt, and I don't know if Tyrod's
Is
done
there a
for the year.
timeline on that? I'm gonna look that up for us. Taylor wrist
He's on
injury.
IR,
Yeah.
so they signed Matt Barkley. Oh boy. So I don't know what the Giants are going to be doing, but Saquon's going to be getting a lot of touches, and he's going to be getting hurt within the next few weeks. I can feel it.
Oh no.
And speaking of injured
Oh,
running
very
backs,
interesting.
on to Cam Akers, who tore his Achilles again, and it
The
was
other
the
leg.
other Achilles.
Yeah.
And the rate of return from one Achilles injury is low. I was looking earlier, and it's about 70%. If you tear your Achilles, 70% of people come back from a torn Achilles and play again. And then if you
Now you're
tear
just
your other
compounding that
Achilles,
number.
I mean, you lose explosiveness on the foot or on the
Mhm.
Achilles you tear. And so if you have no explosiveness on either foot and you're a running back, I just don't see a way that he's going to be getting meaningful minutes or running again. I don't want to say like this is a career-ending injury because he is only 24. He's still young. He may be able to bounce back from it, but it's not looking too good for him.
Yeah. Did they announce that Dobbs is like a formal starter, or is it like he's
I
gonna be benched again when Jaron Hall comes back? Because I really hope it's not that.
I think I don't know. Let me check because I know that they said he's starting this week, but I'm not sure if it's because of injury. Because Jaron Hall's questionable and he's starting, so I would imagine that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, better
Um,
than doubtful or anything else.
yeah, Hall is placed in concussion protocol. Won't be an option to start Week 10 versus the Saints. Okay, so they don't have a backup quarterback Week 10 because
All
their
right,
other quarterback is Nick Mullins.
I'm gonna absolutely butcher a name real quick, but it's another very interesting. I'm sure you saw stuff about it, but all right, butcher a name time. Texans kicker.
Dare,
That's what? Would you just say? Oh
Dare.
no. Okay, no, the guy who actually kicked it.
Oh,
No, I thought
Kaimi Fairbairn. Sorry.
Kaimi. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say like something way off. So Kaimi Fairbairn, uh, you know, left with a quad injury, and then a running back kicked a field goal. So
Dare
that was pretty
Ogunbowale.
electric. Yeah. Now that's another name I would butcher. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you
See, you said you were going to
took
butcher
over
a
on
name,
both.
and then it was Texans kicking, and I was like, oh, that running
Hmm.
back's got a butcherable name.
Yeah, that's just
Ooh,
another injury on this list that led to a very fun uh,
and it
kind of
wasn't
thing
like it
going.
was a nothing field goal. It was a field goal
Yeah,
to
it was
take the
the
lead.
yeah. Hmm.
Also, big new news at as of 2 hours ago, Cowboys are signing wide receiver Martavis Bryant to the practice squad.
Why do I know
He
that name?
recently got reinstated by the NFL. He was out because of weed,
Ah,
and they were finally like, okay, you can come back. And now he's signing with the practice squad on the Cowboys.
dude, since 2018 he's
Yep,
been suspended.
yep. He was basically blackballed from the league as just like, hey, we don't like you. Get out.
He played in 5 years. He's 31 years old, and they're like, yeah, let's sign him
He was
ASAP.
really good. He was really good when he was playing. That's kind of why. Um, but I
And
think
then another injury to round us off.
yep,
Dallas Goddard. He went ahead and fractured a forearm on
he
a
went
on a
ahead and did
weird
that.
landing. On a weird landing in the Eagles game. He didn't come back, obviously, and he had a MRI which was set to confirm it, and then surgery following that, and he's projected to miss 4 weeks.
I think that is all we've got for news and all of our topics. We do have a bingo update, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of. Uh, there was in college football, a possum ran across a field in the middle of a game, and one of Elijah's bingo squares is that a dog will run across the field of an NFL game. And I sent that to him on Twitter, and I said, "Is this close enough?" And
I want to point out that I never specified an NFL game. I said during a game. So technically, I mean, if rugby games start just having dogs run across them, I can count it.
I
I
mean,
don't care if it's
technically,
NFL bingo,
they had that
you know?
possum on a leash. You want to count it as a
Dude,
dog? I'll count it as a
when that
dog.
when that possum was getting dragged away, it's
He
just
was
so
so
cute.
mad. He was so happy when he was running around, and then he was
Uh-huh.
just so angry when he got caught.
For
Um,
sure.
anywho,
And
that's
an actual bingo update.
oh,
Will Levis, is confirmed to be the starter moving forward, and he's got 2 games in. So, barring a injury, I'm looking like I might actually get one green bingo section.
woo. Michael Thomas is looking pretty good for suiting up for 10 games for me. And that's the only one I think that I have any hope of anymore.
Derrick Henry is injured for 7 games. I'm not gonna wish for his injury, but
If it happens,
there's kind of one last chance I get to have that exist and happen.
mm-hmm.
Also, my other slot of a fair catch kick is attempted. I feel like
That's not gonna happen.
isn't gonna happen. But hey, Darwin's a nice fun kick scenario to see otherwise.
Mm-hmm. I think we can move off of bingo updates and can move into the stocks because I have a hell of a lot of moves to make. So
Whoa, yeah,
I don't
someone
know
made money.
yeah, I don't know if you have too many moves to make, but I've got a lot. So if you want me to run through all of mine real quick, I will.
Yeah, go for it.
So as of right now, I'm sitting with $575 in the bank, and I have 1 share of the Jaguar stock worth $750. I have 2 shares of the Charger stock worth $500 each, so that's $1,000, and I have 3 shares of the Panther stock, which dropped, but is still an improvement on my initial investment, and it's worth $125 each, or $375 total. I'm selling all of them. Every single one of them.
Play your house? Jeez.
Jag's gone.
Right.
That adds $750. So I'm up to...
Do the math in your head. Come on. Be smart. Come on. Quicker. You're going slow. Oh, no. Oh, he's fumbling it. Oh, it's too late. He's not smart.
13.50.
There you go.
13.25. You started talking, and my brain completely froze because I just heard your voice, and I was like, well, I can't do math now. And then I'm going to sell both my Charger stock. That's $1,000. So that's at $23.25.
Okay, can you get that one?
Yeah. And then the $375 from the Panthers puts me at $2,700. So I've got $2,700 in the bank account. And
well, okay. Now let's pump the brakes here, and I'll sell some stuff. Let's build some anticipation for your. Okay, jeez, never mind. Take the wheel. So I have the Texans who went ahead and went up in value after that phenomenal win. The Rams who got shellacked. The Bears, Bengals who won over the Bills, and the Panthers here as well. And then I got the Giants who, wow, they were a disappointment.
I cannot believe you bought the fucking Giants, man. I can't believe you did it.
It was the Raiders. I thought Josh McDaniels was still going to be coaching the game.
No, this was before the Raiders you bought the Giants. You've had them for 2 weeks.
Oh, well, that's my bad, all right?
It is your bad.
I got a little gun crazy, all right? But the Giants are definitely not going to review it. So that is going to be my elimination of my Giants stock there. So I have 225 going into my bank. Are you going to do it to me? No, because I'm actually good at math. 375 in my bank there. And you would think, oh, maybe he's also done. No, because I'm in a very similar boat to you, where I have a lot to sell here. The Panthers play the Bears, and that's going to be a rough game on Thursday Night Football. I have more to lose with the Bears and the Panthers. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sell both of them. So selling the Panthers gets me 125 back into my bank. Selling my Bears gets me 225 back into my bank, which sits me at a nice 725 in my bank. So now currently I'm looking at the Bengals, I'm looking at the Rams, I'm looking at the Texans. I've got one of each of them. The Texans, rookie of the year. That's under helm. Joe Burrow coming back to form with the Bengals. However, a Carson Wentz-led Rams. I'm going to cut my losses on that Ram stock. I'm going to cut that one off. That's going to add 350 to my stocks, which is 1,075 in my bank. So you're sitting at a pretty penny. I'm sitting at 1,075. I'm going to be keeping my Texans and my Bengals stocks, despite the fact that they play each other.
Okay.
Let's see these buys.
All right. First thing I'm going to do, while it's still very low, I'm going to load up on Cardinal stock. I'm putting $500 into 4 shares of Cardinal stock. So that takes my bank down to $2,200, as I've purchased 4 shares of the Cardinal stock, again valued at $500 total, $125 per share, because they are 1-8. Kyler Murray coming back. I don't know when they're going to start winning, but I want to get in now because fast forward a week and they'll still cost 125. Because if they're down to 115, we round up to 125. So whatever they're down to, it's still going to be 125. So now's the time to get in on it, because if they win this week, that's a huge increase on the investment. And I see Kyler Murray bringing a couple wins to this team to at least finish out the year at 500, and my stock will be worth more than it is now. So I see this as a kind of no-brainer investment, getting into the Cardinals now while they're low. It'd be better if they hadn't won a game, if they didn't beat the Cowboys somehow, but it's whatever. I'll sit happy at my 4 Cardinal stocks. And then I'm going to be making 2 more moves.
Really hoping we don't got all the same moves lined up. And let's see it.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
But good. My second move, I'm going to be buying 2 shares of the Titans stock, and that is valued at $750 total, $375 a piece, which puts me down to $1,400 in the bank account. Nope, $1,450, because math is mathin'.
You don't say.
And then the last move that I'm going to do, they just lost. They have a pretty easy schedule going forward. They got a little bit cheaper. They're still not cheap, but they've, compared to their talent level, they've got an easy schedule moving forward. For like the next 4 weeks, I see them picking up at least 3 of them. And this is the Dolphins. I'm picking up 2 shares of the Dolphins stock.
That's pricey.
It is. It is taking $1,350 of my $1,450.
Yeah.
And so I will be down to 100 schmackers in the account. And the Dolphins, again, are valued at $675 a piece because they are 6-3. But they've got an easy schedule coming up, and they're not good against good teams, but they're very good against bad teams. And all the teams coming up, I think, are not that great. So I'm happy picking up 2 shares of the Dolphin stock at what I consider to be the lowest it will be. And now I am sitting with $100 in the bank. My net worth is still $2,700. And I've got, again, just to run through it, 4 shares of the Cardinals stock, 2 shares of the Titans stock, and 2 shares of the Dolphins stock.
Yep. So it's going to sound a little bit like a broken record here, but I'm going to be buying 2 shares of the Titans here because they have a new quarterback. They confirmed a new starter. It's a guy I was very anti on during the draft process. I have no hate towards the comedian mailman. And I'm going to be picking up 2 of those stocks for the $750, same as you did. Now, I was also going to be grabbing some Cardinal stock, but now that you did it, I don't want to. So now I'm going to peruse some other things, some other options here, and I can't afford that. So it's looking like...
Man, just buy the Cardinal stock.
Yeah, I'm going to buy all 3 of this Cardinal stock that I had planned on, because that's how my money worked out.
So you're sitting at 0.
To the Cardinal stock there. And my bank account is 0.
Yep. I didn't really talk about the Titans stock too much, but yeah, new quarterback. Derrick Henry's still there. Their backup running back is pretty good, and he's coming in a lot because Derrick Henry's getting up there in the old age department for running backs.
Yep.
And D-Hop is still D-Hop. And I like their future. I looked at their games, and I felt like they were at least somewhat winnable. And they're currently 3-5. So if they win like 3 of their next 4, which is a tall order, but if they win 3 of their next 4, they become even, and they'd be 6-6, and then they'd be worth $500 a piece, and I'd be coming up $250. So, and that's if I hold them for that long. They may be better than that. I may hold them for a little bit longer. I just felt like this was the best time to get in on the investment because this week they play the Buccaneers, which could go either way, but I feel like it's a winnable enough game that I'll throw some money at them, and if they lose, I'll sit with my losses and I'll be fine.
Yeah, the Mike Vrabel led Titans always, everything feels close until it's not.
Yeah,
but They certainly stand a solid chance there.
I really didn't think I'd be buying any top end stock, but the Dolphins just, I mean, coming off a loss, coming off a tough performance, I don't see them really. I don't see them getting worse than they are right now. Because I saw that stat where their 3 losses are to the teams above 500 and their 6 wins are to teams below 500. So they haven't
Hmm.
beat a team over 500 and they haven't lost to a team under 500. And coming up, their schedule is not the strongest. They're on a bye this week. And then the week after, they play the Raiders, which, new team, same Raiders. So I'm pretty confident in them picking up that one. Then they play the Jets, and the Jets upset when they're not supposed to. So I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I think the Dolphins can do it. And then they play the Commanders, and I feel like all 3 of those games are so winnable that it makes no sense not to get in on them right now, especially since I had the money,
Yeah,
I
you got
had
the
the
money for it.
capital, and it makes too much sense to get in on that while I can.
All right. Do you wanna kick off some pick'ems here
Yeah,
or
I'll kick off some pick'ems.
alrighty,
Kick 'em some pick'ems.
pick
Uh,
'em.
week 10 is going to be starting out with a wonderful game on Thursday night. We're both so excited for it.
I'm
Can't
gonna
wait for
watch
the
every
Panthers to
snap.
travel to Chicago, play the Bears. I've got the Bears winning this one at home no matter who's at quarterback. I don't care. It's a DJ Moore revenge game. He's going 10 catches, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns again. Next up, Colts Patriots. I can't keep doing this to myself, but I'm going to keep doing this to myself. I'm taking the Patriots.
Uh,
I
when
think
will you
this,
learn?
I won't, just so we're clear, I won't. And home, oops, it's a home game for the Patriots in Germany. And so that is going to be the Sunday morning contest. And then Browns at Ravens. The Browns are so good on defense and so not on offense. And the Ravens have a really good defense as well
Yeah.
and a really good offense. And I don't see the Ravens dropping this one at home to a division rival. So
Mhm.
even though shout out to the Browns because their defense is good, I don't see them winning it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens. Texans at Bengals is a tough one to guess because we could get any Joe Burrow any week and we could get any CJ Stroud any week. And any CJ Stroud is a good CJ Stroud to me. So we could have a masterclass. And D'Amico Ryans, as a head coach, is defensive minded. He'll want to shut down Joe Burrow. I just don't think they're at that level yet. I think they'll get there and they're on the rise, but I think this week is one that they drop to the Bengals in Cincinnati as well. It's colder. The Texans are from Texas, and whether or not
What?
that has anything to do with anything, it does have an effect in my mind.
Thought the Texans were from Tennessee.
49ers at
Blowing my
Jaguars.
mind.
I've got the Jaguars in this one. 49ers are on a rough stretch and coming off a bye. They may be super hot, but the Jags also coming off a bye, I think are better. I think the Jaguars are better than the 49ers. I have noticed a little bit AFC versus NFC matchups. The AFC seems to take them a lot. And it seems like even the kind of mediocre to good AFC teams are better than the good NFC teams. But
Mhm.
maybe that's just placebo and I'm not actually seeing what I think I'm seeing or something. Who knows? Saints at Vikings. I'm taking the Saints. I love Josh Dobbs. I love that team, but I think that the Saints have this one, unfortunately. And then Packers at Steelers. I'm going Steelers. Titans at Bucks. I'm taking the Titans. Falcons at Cardinals. I am taking the Cardinals. Despite what I said about Kyler maybe not having a perfect performance, the Falcons suck. They are terrible. And the Cardinals are not good, but they're not the Falcons. They're expected to be bad and better than they're expected to be. The Falcons are expected to be mediocre and they suck. So I will pick against them at every turn. It's a home game for the Cardinals. It's the first game with Kyler Murray back. I think they're gonna win that one, and who knows? Maybe they go on a 2-game win streak, and I get a bingo point. Then we got Lions at Chargers. Uh, I'm not betting on Brandon Staley ever, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the Lions in that one on the road. And then I get that kind of goes against what I just said about the mediocre AFC teams beating NFC teams, but the Chargers are an exception to that rule. The Giants at
Yeah.
the Cowboys, I am never going to bet on the Giants, so I'm taking the Cowboys in that one, unfortunately. And then Commanders at Seahawks, I'm taking Seahawks at home. They need to bounce back after that brutal beating that they took to the Ravens. Jets at Raiders, new Raiders team. I'm taking the Raiders. I'm riding with them. I think they win this one in Oakland or in Vegas. Sorry,
Like,
not in
geez, get your
Oakland
mind out of
anymore.
2016,
Wow.
bro.
And then Broncos at Bills. Upset alert. I have the Broncos in this one.
Ooh,
I don't
that's
think it's going to
interesting.
happen. I think the Bills win it, but I'm picking the Broncos just because if the
Broncos are
Broncos
coming off
win
their
it,
bye.
it's going to look good if the Broncos win it. And I
Broncos
think,
coming off that bye week. They beat the Chiefs prior.
yeah,
I see what your mind's
there's
at.
a possibility, and I like the possibility, and I like calling it because if it doesn't happen, oh well, I look foolish and I get another loss on the record. But if it does happen, oh boy, do I look great.
Which one was the lock of the week?
Uh, Keeping with the theme, taking a new team every week, and I'm gonna go ahead and lock the Cowboys over the Giants. And that is again same as last week, in hopes that they lose.
Yeah. Um. So I'm sitting at a very similar bracket as you. So I've got Bears winning Thursday Night Football. I have the Colts beating the Patriots in Germany. Then Ravens, Bengals, Jaguars all winning those matchups. Um, kind of wanted to speak on some of the matchups you didn't on. The Saints Vikings. You said you like Dobbs. I feel like the Saints either show up or don't, and it flips, not like it'll flip in a half even,
Yeah,
and it's it's gonna be interesting. But I feel like with the defense that the Saints have, if it at least tries to show up against Josh Dobbs, who maybe might know some players' names by then, but still is not going to be fully acclimated. Um, I think that they will manage to somehow squeak out a win, but it's going to be close. Um, in the Packers Steelers game, this is another one that is like gross to me because I'm never going to root for the Steelers to win as long as they have that OC because I don't want them to keep suffering with that OC. But he was on the sideline and they won. I'm going to take the Steelers because I mean, I had the Rams beating the Packers. The Packers obviously showed out, but it was against a very lesser offense than the Rams have had. So I'm going to keep piling on to the Packers loss right here because I don't think that they did not transition off of Aaron Rodgers very well.
no, I don't.
The Titans Bucks game. This one is going to be interesting because it feels like the Bucks are already reeling after like such a close loss. Like they put together something against the Texans, just wasn't enough. But I feel like the Titans have that like toughness about them, and the Bucks are just going to keep losing, like dropping ones that are close and they should win, because that's what they've been doing since week 4.
Yeah,
Next, I had the so everything so far besides the
you
fact that I
froze
had the
before
Colts
you
beating the
said
Patriots
the.
has been the same.
You froze before you said the Cardinals Falcons guess prediction.
Okay. So everything up until this point has been pretty much the same except for the Colts over the Patriots. For my Cardinals Falcons, I'm gonna go Cardinals just because we're piling on to Arthur Smith this episode, it seems. Lions Chargers, I'm gonna take Lions here. Coming off the bye week, had a big win on Monday Night Football over the Raiders, which led to a coach being fired. So I'll take that. Cowboys Giants, we don't need to talk any longer about it. Commanders Seahawks. Seahawks are going to try their best to bounce back after that bad taste in their mouth, and then Commanders have really. I want to point out that the Seahawks got who did they trade for?
Leonard Williams.
Yes, they got Leonard Williams, so the Commanders are familiar with that one, and somehow has had no protection. So with a decent enough pass rush coming from the Seahawks, it shouldn't be a hard game to win. Jets Raiders. I have the Jets winning this one, because it seems I think I'm kind of predicting the same with the Saints Vikings game, where okay, something new happened. We saw it with Will Levis, we saw it with Tyson Bagent, and now the Raiders coaching and Joshua Dobbs. Change to their offense means that they can't defensively scheme as well, and that team wins the first week and then they lose the next. So I'm predicting that for both the Raiders and the Vikings this week, and I think the Jets are going to win this one. And then coming up with the Bills Broncos, I had the Bills winning this. I had the Bills as a lock, which would be another new team predicted. Um, and you picked against it, and you kind of got me thinking. Maybe I'm not 100% on that train as I would like to be, and so I'm backtracking. I'm gonna go ahead and switch off of the Bills as my lock, and take the Seahawks, who I have not locked thus far either.
I definitely think the Bills are a good lock over the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are good, but the offense has been good this year, and the Bills'
Mm-hmm.
offense has been spotty. And so I think if we get the good Bills' offense that wins them games, it's going to be a blowout, and the Broncos are going to score like 10 points, and the Bills are going to put up 40. And I think that's probably what we're going to end up getting. But at the same time, we could get the Bills' offense that puts up 10 points and turns the ball over 4 times against a defense that hasn't been that good this year, but in the past has been pretty solid. So if they show some flashes of the past and the Bills show some flashes of the past, then I think we can see a little bit of an upset there. The only other thing I want to talk about is the Jets Raiders. I would agree with you 100% that the the new aspect of it is kind of gone now, and so they can game plan against it. Except for the fact that the Jets just laid an egg against the Chargers, who have not been phenomenal this year and have been a poorly coached team since Brandon Staley got there. And just because of that Jets performance a couple like last night, right?
Yep.
I don't think I can ever bet on them again. And because of the Raiders' performance this past weekend as well, where it wasn't like they put a new guy in, I mean Aiden O'Connell, but the new guy playing wasn't why they won the game. It was the new
Mm-hmm.
coach, but the same
Yep.
OC. So I'm imagining the game plan didn't change much between weeks because OC is the same. And maybe McDaniel was doing his own thing with it, and now the OC has full reign of it. But I don't know. I don't think the Jets can pull that one out. But I definitely could be
Granted,
wrong.
it was also the Giants as the competition. So,
Yeah, true.
and then in terms of just countering your Jets point, the Jets had won 3 in a row prior to this game. So
Yes,
I
they had.
think
And
despite the one like mishap against the Chargers, who have had the Chargers were great. They had 8 sacks as a team. They the Jets just couldn't counter that.
mhm.
And I think that with the fact that the Chargers actually it wasn't the Chargers being the Chargers, it was the Chargers figuring something out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the Jets just sucked against the suck. Um, so I still have a little bit of faith in them to try to squeak out a win over another team that has not been able to score much, and they're going against a top defense.
I do think Max Crosby is going to give Zach Wilson nightmares. So I think that's also where I'm coming from in it, where the defense has a
Mm-hmm.
new goal or like a new drive to play. And it's not just the offense of the Raiders that's like, oh, now we can actually like be excited about something, but it's the defense actually like wanting to go out there and wanting to make an impact. And Max Crosby
Yeah,
being really interested in actually performing well for this interim head coach. And I think that'll be a really interesting one to see. It's going to be a bad game, but I think it's going to be a good bad game.
yeah, it'll certainly be one we tune in to watch.
For sure. We're getting towards the end of the recording, and we've done our pick'ems, we've done our locks, we've done our stocks, we've done our bingo, and I don't really have anything else for the people. Do you?
Just gotta shout out our socials, got a Discord to come give us hate. But I'd like to see you pick every single game of the year and tell us how good and how accurate you are. Show me
Yeah,
your ESPN pick'ems rate. How about
yeah.
that?
Show me your preseason predictions at 90 wins and 46 losses. All right. Show me that, and then come at me for
Yeah.
my 79 and 57 record that sucks after that. All right. I don't
Yeah.
want to
You
hear
gotta
it.
you gotta prove yourself before you go ahead and hate on us.
You best come correct. Shout out Daryl Henderson. Shout out Ron Rivera for beating cancer. And
Jesus.
Anti
I
anti
forgot I
shout
said that.
out anti shout out to Arthur Smith. That's all I gotta say. Get him out of
Yeah.
there.
Out shout. That was
Ouch.
bad. I'll just end it there. We're gone.
Later.